Good morning and welcome to another Morning Java, brought to you as always by our friends, everyone's friends at the Get-Go Cafe and Market, where the whole Giant Eagle family contributed $10 million to their employees who are really, Carter, if you think about it, the front line.
Yeah, big ups to them because they got to deal with people every day. They got to deal with the mobs and everyone and they're just trying to make sure everything is safely stocked. They're helping elderly people get their stuff because there's no way they can fight through those crowds. Big ups to them, thanks to those and to all those people working in hospitals right now, helping take care of people.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing how, remember after September 11, how the front line changed. The definition of what we would talk about as, was first responders and everything were forever and ever. It was the military, and, I'm certainly not diminishing those contributions. But now it's groceries, pharmacies, and anybody that's going to work for something that's, like you said, essential.
Yeah, if you're one of those people out there doing that, thank you very much. Also, if you're one of the people staying home, also thank you very much.
And also thank you very much to the National Football League
for
remaining active, giving us something to talk about, because I know that's life-sustaining for you, Carter.
Certainly. I mean, the thing is that, like, normally around this time of year, I'm a big basketball guy, so I like March Madness. And this would have been when hockey heats up. And this is when I'm like, okay, now I can watch. But this is now NFL free agency. The draft is coming up, all the talk. But the Steelers making big moves over the weekend, solidifying different positions. I think what Kevin Colbert's trying to do is make sure, hey, there's no gaping weak spot on this roster that I want to have going into the draft. I want to make sure I can pick the best player available and not feel bad for it.
Specifically, the Steelers, when we're talking about their big moves, let's go first with Eric Ebron, because it's going to be the biggest one.
Yeah.
And I think we can safely say that moving forward as well. There are issues related to his acquisition. And you and I have both touched on that on the site. He's got the drops.
Yes.
He's got the availability issues. He had, depending on who you believe, both ankles or two different surgeries on one ankle or whatever it was.
He's not the most consistent blocker.
And he's a pass-catching tight end, which is always a euphemism for won't block anybody.
Yeah.
So, what do you think?
I think the big thing is it's a good move.
It's a good move.
Because here's the difference. But first, we argued about Vance McDonald just last week.
We did. And I won that argument, by the way.
People were clowning you for that. Anyways, the point is that because they were able to lower some money on Vance McDonald, now you have Ebron and McDonald. These are two guys who have started in the NFL at the tight end position, both of which are guys, if they get the football in their hands, they're dangerous. And that allows the Steelers to say, one, we have the flexibility of having two tight ends. We have the flexibility of calling double tight end formations, which makes play action and running formations that much more doable. I think this is going to expand the repertoire and what Ben Roethlisberger likes to do. Also, now he has two taller targets in the red zone, which was an abysmal point last year without Ben Roethlisberger, and the year before that they were the best in the league.
Well, the other thing you've seen with Ebron in particular is his ability to make acrobatic catches. He is a touchdown producer, and that's something that Dale Lawley was calling going into this offseason, was that the Steelers weren't going to so much prioritize positions as they were production.
Yes.
They wanted touchdowns. They didn't care who scored the touchdowns, but they wanted touchdowns. That's not a simple matter of red zone efficiency. When we think of red zone efficiency, we're almost always thinking of the quarterback.
Right.
How was his completion percentage down? Touchdowns are a skill.
Yeah.
Just like shooting a basketball is a skill, just like scoring a goal in hockey is a skill. And there are some guys who can do it and some guys who can't. This individual most definitely can. 13 of them just a couple of years ago with Andrew Luck as his QB. Now, Eric Ebron is the big name, but he's not the only name. The Steelers have three other guys that they've picked up from the outside. Derek Watt, fullback, special teams ace, really an elite special teams player.
Yeah.
I'd think having tied Tyler Matakevich for the most special teams tackles in the NFL last season. Let's walk through the other two.
You got Stefan Wisniewski, guard center from the Chiefs. This guy's a two-time Super Bowl champion and a hometown native. He played at Central Catholic back in the late 2000s. I think he graduated the same year I did from Alderdice. But he's played with the Eagles. He was a guard and center for them. Then he switched. He kind of went through free agency, stepped in late for the Chiefs. He didn't play most of the season, but then in the playoffs, he was huge for them. Helped really along keeping up the pocket for Patrick Mahomes. And this is where he's going to be the most useful, is in pass protection. You lost Ramon Foster. He retired. Now you lost your veteran presence in the middle of the line.
Quarterback.
Exactly.
That's number one. And the other guy, of course, is Chris Wormley, who was acquired from the Ravens. He's a nose tackle, defensive tackle.
You can even say 3-4 DN with the way that he plays.
Yeah, there's a lot of he can play anywhere on the defensive line, and you needed that.
Yeah.
Because when you lose Javon Hargrave, you're not going to replace Javon's ability to get to the quarterback, which was at a much higher level than I think what people even appreciate. And that's the reason that he got the money that he did. That wasn't a necessary skill on the Steelers
for their backup interior defensive lineman.
Yeah, a guy who was coming on for 40% of the snaps. And I think that's one of the reasons the Steelers made up their minds, I really believe this, about Javon a long time ago.
Yeah. No, I agree, because when Stephon Tuitt and Cameron Hayward already are upper-tier pass rushers.
That's what I mean.
You don't need a third one necessarily. Tyson Alualu, decent player on both sides. You need a run stuffer, someone that you can plug in that could play one technique or three technique, or they don't do much zero technique anymore. But you're playing along those middle gaps, and you're taking on the guards. You're freeing up Devin Bush and Vince Williams to be able to swarm around and make those tackles in the backfield.
And Wormley's that guy.
Yes.
In having watched some video of him in the past week, he's a guy that's going to be reliable, that's going to make the tackle. And realistically, I mean, not to keep piling on poor Big Dan here like we have for a really long time, but that was going to be your guy in that sense. And you saw at times last year they would actually put Big Dan out on the field in run-stopping situations, and Big Dan would end up on his back.
Yeah.
I mean, you just can't.
Just blown out of the hole.
Yeah.
And that's what Wormley is. His job is going to be to beat Dan out and show, hey, this is my gap. I own this. Don't worry about me. Him and Alualu can sub it. And that way, if they do that on first and second down in the middle of a drive, say they're playing the Ravens, Lamar Jackson has picked up a couple first downs, but they take out Tuitt and Hayward, first and second down, they get some run stops. Third and long, you send out Tuitt and Hayward with fresh legs. Now they're able to rush the quarterback.
This is basically it, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't see them going. First of all, they don't have a lot of money left anyway.
Yeah, with the Ebron signing, that kind of tapped them at where I think they are now. I mean, still they could do some crazy more restructures, but I think when you look at what they've done, they re-signed Jordan Dangerfield to provide another depth safety. Kevin Colbert is structuring everything to protect himself from his weaknesses, so that when he goes in this draft, there's no pressure to say, hey, let's get a safety. No, hey, we're going to get the best player that fits what we need right now.
Oh, wait, we're missing one.
Oh.
So Carter and I are standing here talking about how the Steelers have filled all their needs, and the Chief is up here whispering to us.
You forgot someone.
Forgot a certain position that was a really big deal when I was around. And where are they getting the running back?
I think you can get in the second round. You look at the draft right now; they don't need to go out and get a veteran. They've got guys who have experience in their system right now in Snell and Connor. They need a playmaker, and a playmaker that protects the ball. At the 49th spot, I've looked over this draft several times over. There's a lot of teams that need to get offensive linemen. They need to get wide receivers. There's going to be those teams that snatch off at quarterback.
That's what they do.
Right.
Yeah.
Running backs, there's about 4 or 5 guys that I'd be comfortable with them taking at that spot.
Seriously.
3 in particular that I think if they got it would be a home run.
Okay, but let's say that the 3 are gone. And you're at the 49th pick.
Well, that's
I ask this only because somebody asked me this in live Q's over the weekend.
Right.
If there are 3 of them that are gone, go ahead.
So the 3 that you're assuming Swift is gone, you're assuming Dobbins is gone. But here's the thing: if Jonathan Taylor from Wisconsin's gone, I'm okay with that because that guy fumbled too much. Still, give me Clyde Edwards-Helaire out of LSU.
Oh, it's all you want is this guy.
Yeah, I'm telling you, he's a beast. When you look at his production,
coming back to him. I know.
And here's the thing: if you take him out and you throw Jonathan Taylor in, I know he has fumble problems, but runs a sub 4.4. He ran really well at Wisconsin.
Fumbles are going to get you.
Fumbles are tough.
That's a DQ with Mike Tomlin. I'm sorry.
No, I hear you on that. I look at the danger, the threat that he brings, and the fact that he can make people miss. He can stiff arm you. He has several ways to beat you. His biggest thing is, can you protect the football? That's going to be the question. If they feel like, hey, we can teach this guy to do that, that's going to be.
What about all these free agents, though, Carter?
I mean, you see some of these guys floating around. I mean, Melvin Gordon got snatched up. Todd Gurley was cut and sent, and now he's with
Atlanta,
the Falcons.
Yep.
I'm not sold. The Steelers need to draft a guy that's going to be a guy who makes people miss in space. They don't need. They already have the guys. Like, if people are thinking, oh, look at what the Niners did with Raheem Mostert. They have a Mostert already in Connor and in Snell. Those are guys that, well, hey, if something's there, they'll take it. But you need a guy that's going to create on his own, the way that Le'Veon Bell did. Now, I'm not saying they need a Le'Veon Bell specifically.
Although he was also a second-round pick, with the record show.
Which is my point, is that if you can get one of those guys, I even like Zach Moss out of Utah. The way that he's a bruiser. Now, they already have a bruiser in Benny Snell, but the way he runs. I was going to
say, that doesn't really fit.
But the way that like Benny Snell sort of runs on his own, what he did in Kentucky. This guy at Utah, if you watch his tape, when there's a guy out in front of him, he will if he feels he can barrel into him, he does. If he can spin off of him, he can use his lead blockers well. I like the way that he cuts through zone runs. He gives me a lot of options at running back.
See, running back keeps me from assigning any sort of grade or valuation to what the Steelers have done this offseason. It's one of those things that people always like to say, are they a better team now than they were when the season ended? Right. Well, the easy answer to that is absolutely yes, just because Ben is throwing a football again. Mm-hmm. Okay, I mean, that's the cop-out answer. However, beyond that, even setting aside the quarterback position, to me, until they address running back and have that impact player there, and in big parentheses, as we're saying all of this, is that James Conner can't stay on the field. They have this player. He just can't stay on the field. Okay, and you just can't.
And that's just a reality. That's unfortunate.
That's just what's there. Okay, so until they address that, and I believe emphatically, I believe with their top pick, it's hard to say that they're, you know what I mean?
Right, because that's the one weakness you can say, like, you know what, I'm not scared of anybody at that position right now. Now, that might change because, again, Benny Snell, he came into the camp a little bit heavier than, and this happens with all rookies. James Conner came in heavy. Le'Veon Bell came in heavy. And then you saw in James Conner's second year, he exploded, had the Pro Bowl year. Le'Veon Bell, his second year, he was a much bigger threat. Now, you give Benny Snell the same chance, will he do that? But the Steelers can't bank on ifs right now. It's Ben's last 2 years if they're lucky. They gotta go out and make the aggressive moves, and that's what Kevin Colbert's doing right now. So I'm comfortable with what they've done so far, but they need to get a running back, and they should not sleep on, like Dale talks, any touchdown makers, because you got a lot of receivers out there in this draft. I think that they'd be fine if they got one in the third or fourth rounds, but if they got one in the second, like Denzel Mims, there's someone that can produce and create their own touchdowns. That'd be great too.
You and I can agree on this. The best team in the division is still Baltimore.
Oh yes, absolutely.
Absolutely. Also, the offseason champion is in Cleveland.